there's a subtle pressure that we all feel. A quiet expectation to always smile, always be patient, always give others the benefit of the doubt. We're taught from childhood that kindness is everything. That to be good is to always say yes, always forgive, always stay soft, no matter how much it costs you. But what happens when kindness becomes your prison? What happens when being nice is no longer a virtue, but a form of self-erasure? This video isn't about abandoning kindness, it's about reclaiming it. About understanding the thin line between compassion and self-betrayal. Because here's the hard truth. Sometimes what the world praises as goodness is actually emotional self-harm in disguise. You've been applauded for your patience, even as it drained your soul. You've been called strong for staying silent, even when your boundaries were shattered. And somewhere along the way you started believing that love meant shrinking, that loyalty meant tolerating, that forgiveness meant forgetting. But that's not wisdom. That's survival. And there's a difference. In this 30-minute journey, we're going to explore 10 powerful lessons that redefine what it truly means to protect your peace. You'll learn that ruthlessness isn't cruelty, it's clarity. That silence isn't weakness, it's strength. That boundaries aren't walls, they're doors to self-respect. So if you're tired of living for others, if you're ready to step out of the performance of constant self-sacrifice and step into your own power, keep watching. This is your reminder, kindness is sacred, but so is your energy, so is your time, so is your soul. Let's begin. Ruthlessness. It's a word that makes most people flinch. We associate it with coldness, with heartlessness, with those who cut ties without blinking. But what if we've misunderstood it all along? Ruthlessness in its true form is not about anger. It's not about revenge. It's not about punishing anyone. It's about choosing yourself with unwavering clarity. It's the quiet decision to stop entertaining what drains you, to stop over-explaining your boundaries to people who already know they're crossing them. Ruthlessness is refusing to shrink for approval. It's walking away from a conversation that's only designed to manipulate you. It's saying no, clearly, simply, and without guilt, even when it shakes the room. In a world that teaches you to be palatable, to stay pleasant at your own expense, choosing yourself feels radical. But it's not cruelty. It's sanity. There is nothing cruel about refusing to abandon yourself. And yet, this is where many people get stuck. They confuse guilt with morality. They believe that discomfort is always a sign they're doing something wrong, instead of a sign they're finally doing something different. But listen carefully. The moment you stop performing for others is the moment you start living for yourself. Let go of the roles you were cast in, the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who never complains. Let go of the relationships that only survive because you keep sacrificing. And understand this, the people who truly love you won't punish you for protecting your peace. They'll respect you more for it. Being ruthless with your time, your energy, and your love doesn't make you heartless. It makes you whole. There's a kind of giving that doesn't come from abundance. It comes from fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing love if you ever dare to say, that's too much. Overgiving is not the same as generosity. True generosity is rooted in wholeness, in a deep knowing that you have enough and you are enough. But overgiving? That's often a disguised form of self-abandonment. It's the subtle belief that your worth must be earned, so you give more time than you have. You say yes when every part of you is screaming no. You pour from a cup that's already empty, hoping someone will notice your exhaustion and offer you the same in return. But they rarely do. Because when you teach people that your love is endless, they stop seeing your limits. You become the one they lean on, the one who always understands, always stays late, always picks up the pieces. And the more you do, the more invisible you become. The truth is, relationships are not meant to be rescue missions. They are meant to be mutual. Two whole people exchanging presence, energy, and care, not one person bleeding themselves dry while the other absorbs it all. And if someone only values you when you're giving, they were never truly valuing you to begin with. So pause. Take inventory. Where are you giving out of guilt, not joy? Where are you performing love instead of living it? Remember this, saying no isn't selfish. It's sacred. Stop apologizing for having limits. Stop proving your worth through sacrifice. You are allowed to keep something for yourself. You don't owe the world your exhaustion. A boundary is not a wall. It's not a threat. It's not a punishment. It's a declaration, a calm and steady truth about what you will and will not allow in your life. Think of the ocean's shoreline. It doesn't argue with the waves. It doesn't scream or defend itself. It simply holds its line. That's how real boundaries work. With calm clarity, not emotional chaos. But for many people, setting boundaries feels like starting a war. That's because they've been conditioned to believe that prioritizing themselves is an attack on others. It's not. You're not cruel for needing space. You're not wrong for not being available all the time. You're not a bad person because you're tired of being treated like an emotional dumping ground. When you set a boundary, you're not trying to control anyone. You're simply teaching people how to treat you. And if they resist, that's feedback, not failure. Because those who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always see them as a betrayal. But they are not. They are acts of self-respect. And here's the truth, people will always test what you tolerate. The more you stay silent about what hurts you, the louder the disrespect becomes. And over time, it doesn't just break relationships, it breaks you. So begin to speak your needs, not with anger, but with conviction. I don't have the capacity for that right now. I'm not comfortable with how that was said. I need time before responding. Short, direct, honest. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You need to honor them. Because every time you choose peace over people-pleasing, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Boundaries are not bridges burned. They are gates that open only for those who come with respect. There's a certain kind of niceness that doesn't come from kindness. It comes from fear. Fear of confrontation. Fear of being disliked. Fear of losing relationships if you ever dare to show your standards. And so you smile when you're uncomfortable. You laugh off comments that sting. You say, it's okay even when it's not. But here's the truth. When you make yourself endlessly agreeable, you stop being seen as a person and start being treated as a convenience. Unconditional niceness is often rewarded with growing levels of disrespect. Not because you're not worthy of respect, but because you haven't clearly demanded it. People learn how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And when you stay silent about your limits, others fill that silence with their own assumptions. They assume you're fine with being interrupted. They assume your time isn't valuable. They assume your forgiveness has no end. Niceness without self-respect turns into self-neglect. True kindness isn't about being endlessly tolerant. It's about being honest. It's about knowing when to speak up, when to walk away, when to let your silence speak louder than your people-pleasing. You are not a doormat. You are not a background character in someone else's life. You are allowed to take up space, to correct someone when they cross a line, to demand more than bare minimum behavior. And if someone only values you when you're agreeable, then their respect was never real to begin with. So stop performing pleasantness out of fear. Start practicing real kindness, the kind that includes you. There's a dangerous myth we've been taught, that the more you suffer for others, the more worthy you become. That putting yourself last is a sign of love. That staying silent in pain is a form of strength. That the best version of you is the one who disappears so others can shine. But real love doesn't ask you to vanish. Constant self-sacrifice often has less to do with compassion and more to do with fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of disapproval, fear that if you stop giving, you'll stop being needed. You become addicted to being essential in everyone else's life, while slowly becoming a stranger in your own. Here's what no one tells you. Martyrdom is not maturity. It's a trauma response. You're not more spiritual because you always say yes. You're not more enlightened because you endure more pain. Emotional maturity is knowing when to offer yourself and when to pull back. It's choosing yourself, not out of selfishness but out of wisdom. Every time you sacrifice your own needs without balance, you reinforce a message to your subconscious. My needs don't matter. My voice doesn't count. My pain isn't valid. That message becomes your identity. And then one day you wake up resentful, exhausted, and empty, not because you gave too much but because you gave yourself away. So reclaim yourself. Say yes when you mean it. Say no when you need to. Love from a place of wholeness, not obligation. You are not more worthy because you disappear into other people's lives. You are worthy because you exist. You matter even when you're not useful. Time is not just minutes on a clock. It's your energy, your attention, your life force. And once it's gone, it never returns. Yet how often do we give it away carelessly? To conversations that go nowhere. To people who drain us. To situations that repeat the same cycles with no growth, no depth, no purpose. Every moment you spend with someone who doesn't value your time is a moment stolen from your own evolution. The Stoics were clear on this. Be stingy with your time, not with your money. Because money can be regained, time cannot. But modern life has twisted this wisdom. We've become overly generous with our presence, afraid of seeming rude, distant, or arrogant if we say, this is not worth my energy. Let's be honest, not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone has earned the right to your attention. Some people show up with chaos, with distraction, with empty words. They don't want connection, they want company in their confusion. Protect yourself from that. You don't owe anyone your availability. You don't need to answer every message, attend every call, or be present in every social circle. Your time is a sacred currency. Spend it where it brings peace, purpose, or genuine joy. Start seeing your presence as a privilege, not a default setting. And if someone consistently wastes your time, they are showing you exactly how little they value your presence. Believe them. The most powerful people in the world aren't loud or busy. They are selective, intentional, present only where it truly matters. Be one of them. In a world addicted to noise, silence is a revolution. We're constantly told to explain ourselves, to justify our feelings, to fill the gaps in conversations so no one feels uncomfortable. But silence is not avoidance. It's clarity. It's the space where truth rises without force, where emotions can settle, where your inner voice can finally be heard above the chaos. People often panic in the face of your silence. They interpret it as punishment, indifference, or distance. But many times it's none of that. It's simply you choosing not to overexpose yourself. Not every thought needs an audience. Not every wound needs to be reopened in words. Silence can be your shield. It can be your sanctuary. Especially when you've spent a lifetime explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand. Especially when you've used words as tools to defend your worth rather than declare your peace. When you stop talking, you start observing. You see who leans in with curiosity and who pulls away in discomfort. You see who respects your silence and who demands performance. Real connection doesn't fear silence. It rests inside it. And sometimes the most powerful message you'll ever send is no message at all. Just a pause. A boundary, a breath. Let others wrestle with your silence if they must. You're not responsible for their discomfort. You're responsible for your own alignment. And sometimes the most aligned thing you can do is say nothing at all. People-pleasing wears a mask of kindness, but underneath, it often hides something much heavier: fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of rejection. Fear of not being enough unless you're constantly bending, adjusting, softening who you are for the comfort of others. But here's the truth. Every time you betray your own needs to meet someone else's expectations, you chip away at your own authenticity. You become a version of yourself that's easier to digest. Quieter, smaller, more obedient. And while people may like that version, they're not loving you. They're loving the performance. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to be whole. People-pleasing is a subtle form of self-abandonment. You give up your truth to protect someone else's feelings. You silence your intuition to keep the peace. You say yes when you mean no, and in doing so you say no to yourself. This isn't compassion. It's compliance. You don't need to earn your place in someone's life by constantly accommodating them. The cost is too high. Because one day you wake up in a life that looks good on the outside, but feels hollow inside. And the worst part? You did it to yourself. You handed the pen to others and let them write your story. It's time to take it back. Stop seeking approval from people who only love the watered-down version of you. Start living in alignment with who you are, even if that means disappointing others. Because the first betrayal is always the most dangerous, the one where you betray yourself to be liked. You deserve more than polite applause. You deserve to be fully seen, even if it makes others uncomfortable. You become like the people you spend the most time with, not just in behavior but in energy, in mindset, in soul. Your circle is not just company. It's influence. And if you surround yourself with those who belittle your growth, who gossip more than they reflect, who drain rather than inspire, you begin to shrink, slowly, silently. Not all connections are meant to last. Some were chapters, not lifetimes. It takes courage to admit when a relationship has run its course, when the bond no longer supports who you're becoming. But it's not coldness, it's clarity. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your dreams. Because not everyone can walk with you into your next season. Some carry old versions of you that you've worked hard to shed. So curate your circle with intention. Choose those who challenge you with love, not judgment. Who hold space for your silence, not just your celebration. Who see your growth not as a threat, but as a light they want to walk beside. This isn't elitism. It's emotional hygiene. You clean your space. You care for your body. So why not your relationships? Don't fear solitude. Fear the noise of shallow connections. It's better to walk alone in truth than be surrounded in pretense. And when you finally sit in the stillness of your own worth, the right people will find you, not because you chased them but because you made room. Your circle is your mirror. Protect it like it's sacred. Because it is. There comes a moment when you realize life isn't going to pause for you. It won't wait for you to build confidence. It won't wait for you to be less afraid. It won't wait for you to finally feel ready. Every day you hesitate is a day lost to someone else's script. A day where fear wins, where doubt dominates, where your voice stays quiet while your soul screams for more. This is where ruthlessness becomes a form of love. Not the love that pleases or pleads, but the love that says, I will not abandon myself anymore. Be ruthless with your time. Stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop revisiting situations you've already outgrown. Stop dimming your light just to keep others comfortable. Be ruthless with your boundaries, with your healing, with your peace. Because life doesn't hand you power, you have to take it. Not from others, but from the parts of yourself that have been hiding. It's time to stop negotiating your value. It's time to stop apologizing for your standards. It's time to stop waiting for permission to be the person you already know you're meant to be. Ruthlessness isn't rage. It's resolve. It's walking away without fanfare. It's letting go without resentment. It's owning your space with finality, not drama. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to begin. No. You were never meant to live a life of quiet resentment. You were never meant to be the one who's always understanding, always waiting, always shrinking. There is nothing holy about abandoning yourself. And there is nothing more powerful than deciding, truly deciding, that your peace, your clarity, your self-respect come first. This journey wasn't about becoming cold. It was about becoming clear. It wasn't about building walls. It was about opening the right doors and having the courage to close the wrong ones. You don't need permission to change your life. You don't need approval to draw the line. The world doesn't get to decide when you've had enough. You do. Ruthlessness in its highest form is love. It's love for the child you once were, the adult you are now, and the future you are building. It's love that no longer sacrifices itself to be understood. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to be both soft and strong, kind and clear, giving and guarded. Let this be the beginning of your new chapter. Not one built on performance, but on presence. Not on people-pleasing, but on personal truth. And in the quiet after this video ends, ask yourself, where have I been too nice at the cost of my soul? What am I finally ready to stop tolerating? Who would I become if I stopped apologizing for my boundaries? Sit with those answers. Let them change you. And if this message reached a part of you that's been waiting to be seen, then don't let it stay in the dark. Like, comment, share. Speak your truth, even in a single sentence below. Because someone else out there needs to hear what you've just realized. You don't need to be softer. You need to be whole. And the time to begin is now.